The typical music within a thriller film is usually quite dark and can become extremely intense, which is what we have tried to accomplish with our music. We decided to begin with the music quite calming but slowly develop to become extremely tense to really add a terrifying aspect to our film to make it as scary as we possibly could. We knew that whatever music we used, it had to work perfectly with our characters within the film, as it is one of the most significant parts of a thriller. For example, if we used jolly and happy music for our film, it would be completely wrong, but as we used the track Throne of Blood from Audio Network, it allowed us to be more interesting with our editing techniques and make our clip much more different and stimulating compared to others already out there. We challenged the conventions of a thriller because our film begins extremely quiet and calm, which isn't usual for the opening 2 minutes of a thriller. We've also used audio, and in many clips this wouldn't usually be included because they don't want to give too much away about the main film. However, we have used the audio in such a way that people are puzzled to what the film is going to turn into. Music massively enables us to tell a story without any need for dialogue. A typical setting for a thriller film would usually be in an urban city with the usual occurrence of the colours grey, black and white. They may also be set in a quiet country where most of the characters you see have very little, but this type of setting would usually be where the villain would live. Our media product challenges the typical conventions as our settings include a lake, woods, house, golf course and deserted barns. The lake is seen as a very calming and tranquil atmosphere where nothing really goes wrong, which is very unusual to be seen in thrillers as they're supposed to be terrifying. The woods are a much more terrifying setting as it has all of the low-key lighting and it's seen as a much more dark and gloomy space to have our main character to pop up everywhere. This is the setting where you mostly see the clown loitering along with the little girl skipping through the woods. The woods location greatly links with the golf course because even though the golf course seems more calming, it is where people go to calm down, but it can also be seen as dangerous. The danger is portrayed through the surrounding woods to make it much more daunting because it shows how the golfer could be linked with the rest of the film. Furthermore, there is also the setting of the house, which is similar to the typical conventions of a thriller film, as we had placed all of these scenes in monochrome to make the scenes after it seem much more petrifying, as their vibrant colours would stand out. Lastly, the deserted barns are similar because they are set in the countryside. However, they aren't surrounded by anything, which is different. This setting truly allows us to show the isolation of the lumberjack. The typical camera shots within a thriller film are usually black and white, close-ups, extreme close-ups, low-key shots, silhouette or shadow of a character, and quick cuts. Within our film, we decided to use a range of camera shots so that our audience truly understood all of the characters and the location surrounding them. For example, we decided to use a close-up of the clown's face. However, we dimmed the colour of the shot so that it wasn't completely clear what the character truly looked like. We hoped that this would help to keep our audience interested, so they carried on watching. Moreover, we used a tracking shot of both the clown and the little girl skipping or walking through the woods down the same path. This helped us to add an aspect where the audience knows what is going to happen, but they have no idea how. Furthermore, there were mostly medium and long shots for us to show the surroundings of where the clown would be. Props. The typical props that you would usually see within a thriller film are weapons, as they believe that it shows the brutality of violence to help make the film much more terrifying. They also use masks to emphasise the grotesque imagery and the scene. We decided to go with the typical convention of thrillers and used the prop of an axe that you see originally with the lumberjack, but as the clip develops, you see it in possession of the clown. The clown has been given a mask to make him more terrifying, which challenges the conventions of a thriller because we haven't used it to cover up any injuries. Costume. The typical costumes to have within a thriller film would usually have the antagonist in dark clothes and the protagonist in more everyday clothes. These are usually a lot brighter. Our clown challenges this convention as he is the villain within our thriller, but he is dressed in bright colours including red, blue, green and more. We decided to dress him like this because we thought that it would help to make him look like your classic clown that you would usually see at a child's birthday party. Similarly, we have also done this with the news reporter and the golfer, as they are dressed in very dark clothes, but they are just ordinary people. However, with the little girl, we've dressed her very typically, as she is in a white summer dress that we thought would be a classic thing for anyone that age to be wearing. Colour. The typical colours for you to see within a thriller film are black and white shots, which we have decided to use because we feel as though it really helps our film to be much better. We used it with many shots. For example, we used it for the shots whilst the little girl was drawing, so that when the clown scenes came up, it made it much more terrifying. However, we transitioned the scenes to get brighter by making one of the clown scenes quite dark, and then the following was really bright and vibrant. Lighting. The typical lighting within the conventions of a thriller include low-key lighting, which is largely explored. We tried to use this lighting where it was possible because we felt as though it helped to bring tension and enhance the terror from the audiences and the characters within the scene point of view. It also often means evil and darkness, which helps to make the film much more tense and really helps to add suspense to it. It also massively helps the scene to be much more dramatic and intriguing. The lighting within the scene helps to tell a story without the use of dialogue. The types of characters that you would see in a thriller film include murderers, psychopaths, serial killers, a traditional family, people with dark backgrounds, an anti-hero and orphans. The anti-hero is usually seen as, even though they are killing people, they are made out to be the hero of these films. Moreover, the people with a dark background are much more interesting characters to include because they leave the audience questioning them. Within our film Coco, we used a typical character. For example, he'll have the same trait like being a murderer, however, you won't know this. The audience would only have the assumption of him being lethal because of him having an axe and a terrifying mask. We have challenged the conventions also with our lumberjack and the golfer, as their characters are just ordinary characters with no significant part within the film.